Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about a horrible boss at a vegan food production facility. Our OP didn't like him very much and decided to set the jerk up. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Don't bother you at all tonight? All right. So this is a fun little story from my last job working in a vegetarian/vegan food factory. It was the worst job you can imagine. The place smelled like rotting food at all times. The employees rarely ever do anything to prevent spreading illnesses. They would regularly show up sick, even during COVID, and management was just the worst. I quickly adopted the policy of doing the least irritating job I could find and trying to avoid listening to my shift lead since she was a jerk. For the sake of the story, let's call the shift lead Jim. Jim was a by-the-numbers guy to the point that if you argued with him using logic, he would instead tell you you're wrong and his math, yes, he would point that phrasing out very deliberately, was what they were going to use and to not think above your pay rate. So on this particular night, I worked from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. Jim decided he wanted to be really lazy since the building owner was going to be gone for the week and he wouldn't have to report anything to him for days. He spent his whole night just sitting in the office playing games on his phone, ignoring our calls because we needed assistance. After about 8 or 9 p.m. rolled around and me finally getting pissed off enough to care, I asked my department manager if he could cover me for a couple of minutes to get Jim in there to help. We needed him to get maintenance because the machine sealing a product called Tempa was barely sealing any at all, and we were throwing away about 70 to 80% of all packages. I get into his office, and before I can say a single word, Jim says very loudly, "Whatever it is, I don't care. Just leave me alone tonight." I tried to get in a word, but he just glared at me and said, "Just get the F out and don't bother me again." Then an evil thought crossed my mind. Cue the malicious compliance. Cue the malicious compliance. "You want just me to not bother you, Jim, or does that mean everyone?" I asked, and he says the words that screwed him over, "As long as I'm not bothered, I don't care." "All right," I say, and leave with a grin that most anime villains dream of doing. I get to my department manager and tell him that Jim doesn't want to be bothered at all tonight. My manager looks at me kind of confused at first and asks, "What the hell does that mean?" To which I just told him Jim doesn't care what happens as long as no one bothers him. Me putting a big emphasis on the last part. Now my department manager was the guy you go to for getting information around the build fast. He's a fast talker and quick on his feet. He lets me get back into my spot and very quickly starts darting around to each department to inform them of what transpired. Needless to say, Jim wasn't bothered at all the entire night. He even had to be woken up at 3 a.m. to do his nightly paperwork because he fell asleep. During the night, the machines packaging these soy hot dogs also started sealing poorly, but we couldn't get any maintenance out there until it's been approved by Jim, so we just ran it all night. By the end of the night, my line, I worked in the boxing department boxing up the Tempa, had thrown away roughly 4 tons of Tempa. We used large red buggies that would hold at least 500 pounds, and we chucked 17 of those suckers. I won't even try to count up the dogs that were thrown out too. Needless to say, this was going to hit the company hard. The fallout, next day my shift comes in, and to no one's surprise, Jim's on my butt right away. "Why didn't you inform me that we were losing so much product?" he starts screaming into my face. The owner looked at his email and saw that we lost nearly $15,000 in product alone last night. I simply smiled at Jim and said to him, "I would have said something, but you told me not to bother you all night." Jim, realizing he could be in trouble for this, doubles down on trying to blame me. "You had a duty to tell me, even if it's against my orders," he shouts. I calmly put my helmet on and colored coat, smile, and say, "Sorry, I didn't think because it was above my pay grade," then went out onto the floor, quite happy that I knew he was either going to be in a crap ton of trouble or fired. Sadly, he wasn't fired, only in trouble. His position was nearly up for grabs, and he had to work every day for 6 months after that, with only Sundays off, before they eased up on him. Did he learn from this? No, he was still a total jerk that the whole staff generally acted nice to, but hated with a passion. And our second story. You can watch them too. Back when I was a junior in high school, I babysat for a family of 6 kids. I say babysat, but in reality I worked as a nanny from when I had free from school to 10:30 at night. They weren't the best behaving kids, but I made myself an authority to these kids so they view what I would and wouldn't accept. Their mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she never did anything when I was there, so all the chores of the household fell onto me or it wouldn't get done. Laundry, dishes, homework, dinner, you name it. At one point, the family needed to move, so I got conned into babysitting during the weekend, 8 a.m. till 10:30 p.m., but it was supposed to be till 1 p.m. Because it was the weekend and I had homework to do as well, I figured the best plan for the kids was to pack a picnic basket, pile the kids into the family's car, and take them to the playground at our local library. It gave the kids something different and room to play, and I got a little space to study. While I was juggling between taking notes and watching to make sure that the kids were where I said they could be when some random woman walked up to me. EP, are those kids yours? She points at the 2 youngest that were playing with another kid. Me, kind of. I'm babysitting while trying to get a bit of studying in. EP, really? Me, yup. I paused in my studying to check where the others were, and the 3 oldest had a habit of trying to sneak off. They hadn't, thankfully, this time, but I've had times where I've had to bucket to catch them while trusting the youngest to stay put. EP, well, my son and daughter are playing with them. Me, okay. I was stressed at the time because I had a chemistry test coming up and it's not my best subject, so I didn't really question why she said that beyond trying to make small talk. EP went silent after that for a minute, and I assumed she had left when she had. Time passes. I call the kids to eat lunch and tell them in an hour we're heading home as we've been there for 3 hours. As the kids get the last bit of playing in, I pack up our stuff and call the kids to the car. It's about as easy as herding mules, but I managed to get all but one of them into the car. Right as I managed to chase the last kid down and was scolding her for running off, EP comes marching up to me in a huff. EP, where are my kids? Me, excuse me? I'm busy getting the last kid buckled in as she's throwing a fit. EP, my kids, where are they? Me, I'm sorry, miss, but I have no idea what you're talking about. EP, you were supposed to watch my kids, and you're leaving? What kind of babysitter are you? Me, what the hell are you talking about? EP, you were supposed to watch them. By this time, I'm not in the mood for it because I'm dealing with the stress as a 4-year-old meltdown from a 7-year-old, so some lady yelling at me wasn't gonna fly. Me, no I wasn't. I never said I would. EP, you're a babysitter. Me, yeah, for those 6 kids in the car that their mom pays me to watch. EP, well, you could have watched my kids too. You were babysitting anyways. Me, royally pissed at this point. Lady, I don't know you. I don't know who the hell you are or your kids. Your kids don't know who I am. I'm here with 6 kids. There's no way in hell I'd take on 2 more kids even if you paid me. EP, why should I pay you? They're easy kids. I lost it. Me, B, I don't work for you. At this point, we'd become the center of attention at the park and either people were watching or gathering their kids to avoid the language. I've never worked for you and never will. Besides, where do you get off ditching your kids on me, a total stranger? EP, looking shocked. How dare you? Me. Oh, F off, lady. I immediately shoved past her and got in the car, slamming the door, revved the engine, and flippered the bird as I left. The only good thing that I got out of that day was that none of the 6 kids I was paid to watch didn't give me any more grief for the week. But I did sit down and talk to them about how what I did wasn't polite, the language I used was inappropriate, and that I was sorry they had to see me so angry. But my blood still boils at the memory of this random woman assuming that she could leave her kids with a stranger to be babysat for free. And our last story. So my HOA secretary was just going through my trash cans and taking pictures. Background. I hate this woman. I've thrown her off my property twice over the 8 years I've lived here, and she's fined me twice for visible trash cans from the street because she could see them through the 1mm gaps in my fence. I had to build my trash cans as shelter to finally appease her interpretation of the HOA rules. It's a Sunday night and I put my trash cans out on the street. I have to do this after 6 p.m. because I don't want to get fined, which I don't think was an issue. We have 2 trash cans, one for normal garbage and one for specific recycling items. About 30 minutes after I put them down, I noticed a white SUV stopped in front of my house in the middle of the street. By the time I went outside, I watched her get back in her vehicle and drive down to the next home that already had trash cans on the street. I watched her get out of her vehicle, take a picture of the bins in front of the house, open the recycling can, and snap another picture of its contents. She got back in her SUV and drove away. She definitely did the same thing at my house because she left my recycling bin and the other recycling bin open. As far as I know, she has no authority to enforce contents of a recycling bin, as that's a city issue. If she's going to report me for an HOA violation, I have no idea what it could be. The next time she tried to do the same thing, I called the police and told them I was concerned about a random person walking around looking in other people's trash cans. I then sent a letter to the HOA saying I was concerned about someone going through my trash can. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.